Okay, this feels kind of weird after my 2 week break of not recording anything, but we're gonna roll with it. I hope everyone's doing well, cause I'm better. I'm less in a I want to die mood, and I'm more generally tired. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm always tired. So as we discussed last time, if you didn't see part 1, go watch it please and thank you. Link in description, you're welcome. Winx Club is an Italian animated series that went on to become a global phenomenon, only to fade away from the public consciousness as its branding became
Selfie time!
Yikes. And today we're here to discuss the 5 English dubs of the series. Yeah, you heard me right, 5. As well as the history associated with its first 4 seasons and 2 movies. Or as the fans of the show, myself included, call it, the golden age of Winx Club.
Mayday, Mayday, I think I need a break from books and homeworks.
The first of the English dubs was produced by now bankrupt and mostly forgotten 4Kids Entertainment, which aired on Fox Box TV in the United States and also aired in the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. This is the dub most English-speaking viewers of the show were introduced to back in the mid-2000s, and as such, the one most people often believe to be the original, which couldn't be further from the truth. 4Kids was infamous for heavily editing various anime not only to make them kid-friendly when they oftentimes were meant for older audiences, but also Americanizing the hell out of them. Don't give it up, Lupe. Don't give it up, Solo. The 2000s were a wild time, y'all. But Winx Club was no exception. Though the original Italian version was in fact for children and young teens, 4Kids often toned down mature themes and amplified character personalities to the nth degree, flanderizing them.
It's just clothes, come on!
It's just clothes?
Present also were changes in the names of characters and locations, altered plot lines and world-building aspects, and even an entirely new soundtrack due to how heavily edited the original material was. This goes for both the vocal songs as well as the background score. 4Kids eventually went bankrupt after they lost the license to the Winx Club franchise, so they were only able to dub the first 3 seasons. No episodes were entirely cut, surprisingly enough, and changes to the 3rd season were incredibly minimal compared to the first 2 seasons. Supposedly this is due to 4Kids running out of money, and they actually got an unfinished version of season 3 before it even aired in Italy, so that was... okay then. Shortly after the 4Kids dub was already being produced, Canadian post-production company Cinelume then got to work on their own dub of the series, which was much more faithful to the original Italian version. No scenes or music were changed, nor plot points. The only real change was in the name of one of the main characters, which we'll discuss in a little while. Though the Cinelume voice cast started off as decent at best and very weak at worst, it eventually became the most solid of any of the dubs, despite the inconsistency in some of the characters' voices even within the same episode.
Oh, Stella, stop worrying about it and just divide your stuff in half.
I've gotta go. Layla's waiting for me.
Bye.
See you later.
The dub covered the first 4 seasons of the series, but for the most part only ever aired in Singapore, because Singapore apparently likes to dub foreign shows themselves, even when they contract a Canadian company to do so. Okay, whatever. It got us the best dub in the process, so who cares? Cinelume's dub of Season 4 also initially aired on Boomerang in Australia, though even then it seemed to have been somewhat impacted from the 4Kids dub, having aired there for the past few years. The movies, however, were not dubbed by either 4Kids or Cinelume, but rather French dubbing studio Dubbing Brothers, and this is definitely the weakest of any dubs. To date, they've done all 3 movies, though despite remaining mostly faithful to the original script, never mind very brief moments and fight scenes being inexplicably cut, or even entire scenes, which are crucial to one of the character arcs in the first movie, but I digress. I'm not bitter. The biggest issue with this dub is in both its casting and its direction. Oddly enough, this dub actually features voice acting legends like Cindy Robinson and Stephanie Sheh, which I would not realize upon first glance because, oh dear, their direction.
That's what I call teamwork, girls.
No way. It's more than just teamwork.
Winx Club teamwork.
Nickelodeon was a special case in that it was more than just a simple dub. In 2010, Rainbow and Nickelodeon struck a deal to distribute the franchise in English-speaking regions, where it had struggled since its initial premiere, with 4 one-hour specials to recap the first 2 seasons, dubs of the 3rd and 4th seasons and first film, and a co-production effort for seasons 5 and 6. This deal, however, turned out to be quite a dumpster fire. Though we'll be discussing the details of this deal with the devil, no offense Satan, in the next video, suffice to say it was a bit of a railroad spike to the franchise from which it has still yet to fully recover. Oddly enough, despite boasting its faithfulness to the original Italian version, Nickelodeon had no issue in watering down dialogue and modifying the scripts of the 3rd and 4th seasons, even turning an engagement between two characters,
Layla, will you marry me?
into this.
I was wondering if you'd like to be my forever girlfriend.
Oh dear. Since the end of the Nickelodeon deal, while Nickelodeon still distributes the series, albeit barely, and on Nick Jr. for some godforsaken reason, they no longer dub the series, which is where DuArt Film and Video comes in. DuArt is a New York-based post-production company which has dubbed Season 7, is currently dubbing Season 8, and is also dubbed the Netflix World of Winx series. Is as faithful to the original version as the Cinelume dub was, and honestly it's probably the second best dub to date because of both that and its surprisingly strong voice cast, minus the Trix and Daphne. Those were mistakes. Now today we're going to be discussing the franchise before the Nickelodeon deal, which means we'll be covering the 4Kids, Cinelume, and Dubbing Brothers dubs, comparing and contrasting them, and also discussing the first 4 seasons and 2 films in general. So without further ado, let's just dive into the badness and pray we survive. As we've mentioned before, the Cinelume dub remained mostly faithful to the original Italian version, as opposed to the 4Kids dub, which most of us grew up with in English-speaking regions. Major changes include new music, as well as name changes. Aisha became Layla in all English dubs, along with pretty much every dub besides Italian across the world until Nickelodeon came around. World names were changed, such as Domino to Sparks, Lynphea to the Fifth Moon of Marigold, Melody to the Harmonic Nebula, and Zenith to the 5th vector of the 3rd binary galaxy. What? We also saw the Trix, the main group of evil witches, be simply referred to as the Witches. Why? It probably something to do with Trix being for kids, but who knows. Unlike most of their dubs, 4Kids exaggerated the personalities of all the characters. Bloom's actually not that bad, in that they actually gave her some more self-doubt and fire to her personality, whereas in the original she was much more existent.
You're just a ridiculous, arrogant, pathetic windbag. You're a totally conceited, totally cocky, totally boring waste of good oxygen.
Stella, meanwhile, oh god, they turned her into the stereotypical popular valley girl.
She destroyed the potions laboratory with an unauthorized magic spell.
You really did that?
I was trying to create a new shade of pink.
Flora is made into this passive hippie with no spine and a voice that makes her sound like she's just smoked 7 tons of weed.
If more plants could talk, deforestation would be dramatically reduced. It's worth trying.
Musa is relegated to weird early 2000s pseudo-slang that the executives think will jive with the youngins.
Yo, if you plan to blow up more stuff, let us know ahead so we can bounce.
This was done to all the dialogue, honestly, but Musa was on another level of cringe. And Tekna is English.
4th World of Magic Realm's Upper Ring, renowned for its rich artistic tradition. Its beaches are very popular with tourists.
Right, that's where I'm from.
Cool, my name is Tekna.
Because apparently being English makes you smart? Because she's a nerd, I guess? Who knows. They also changed the origin of the term Winx. Originally, Winx was just a pun on the word wings that Bloom came up with.
What does Winx mean?
Nothing, just Winx.
But according to the 4Kids dub, Winx is actually some sort of magical force all fairies have, which... Okay then.
Winx is essentially 3 things. First, it's your source of power, as in your strength and energy. And second, it's what guides you. Thirdly, it's like your magical identity.
Now, the Sky and Brandon name change has a lot of people confused, and rightly so, to the point where when Rainbow produced the 1-hour special recaps, they did away with the name change plot twist entirely, and had the twist rely solely on the engagement between Sky and Princess Diospro. Now, the 4Kids dub would have you believe it was... so Sky could see what it was like to be treated like a normal guy.
I just wanted to see what it would feel like to be a regular guy for once.
Oh. Oy vey, this is so stupid. However, this is not the actual reason given in the original Italian and Cinelume versions of the show. In the original, the identity swap was actually to do with terrorism on Sky's home planet Heraklion. Yeah, you heard me right. So in Season 2, we're introduced to Yoshinoya, a crime lord on Heraklion who actually targeted Prince Sky since his youth, hoping to hold him ransom against the kingdom of Heraklion. As a result, Sky's squire Brandon was given Sky's identity in order to protect Sky.
Brandon, who is this Yoshinoya?
A nasty guy who's been after Sky since we were kids.
He's the reason you and Sky traded places?
Bingo! Yoshinoya wants the throne, so every chance he gets, he sends his ninjas after us.
It's a passing mention, but when you think about it, it's actually kind of dark. Like, Brandon's life was essentially put into danger so his best friend could be kept safe. Jeez. So suffice to say, the 4Kids dub was incredibly different from the original version. Yet, because it was the dominant version of the show in most English-speaking regions, it was often regarded as the original, quote-unquote. But if that was the case, then what happened to it? 4Kids' license to dub and air the series expired in 2007, just a few years before 4Kids fell into the dark depths of bankruptcy where they belong. Though Cinelume would continue to dub the series, and Dubbing Brother the films, for some reason, the broad reach of the 4Kids dub impacted both, even in death. The Cinelume dub of the 4th season aired not only in Singapore as usual, but also Australia on Boomerang. However, because of this, Cinelume made a single alteration in referring to Bloom's home as not Domino, but Sparks. Dubbing Brothers did the same for both films.
Now lower your sword in the presence of Bloom, the last surviving princess of Sparks.
I've looked for him in Sparks, Magix, and now here in Gardenia.
Season 4, like the other seasons, did well in most regions that weren't English-speaking. Except now, it didn't even have a chance in said regions, as without 4Kids to distribute the series, Season 4 never aired in the US or Canada or the UK. And so Rainbow sought out a new partner to distribute the series and give it a stronger chance of catching on in English-speaking territories. And in that search to find success for the franchise, they would only find doom.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!